In 1967, a car was born that would change the automotive world forever. Its name was the Ford Shelby GT500, and nothing would ever be the same again. While other manufacturers played it safe and followed convention, Ford dared to build something the world had never seen before. They succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. One look at the Ford Shelby GT500 and you understood immediately. This was not just a car and not just a machine. This was a bold statement about what was possible. Sit inside a Ford Shelby GT500 and the outside world disappears completely. The cabin wraps around you, the engine waits ahead, and only the road matters anymore. A 7.0 LV8 engine, 355 horsepower pushing through every corner, and a body so perfectly shaped that grown men stopped walking just to stare in silence. Carroll Shelby took the Mustang and made it into something the world had never seen. And that single fact tells you everything you need to know about what made this car truly special. This is the story of the Ford Shelby GT500, one of the greatest automobiles ever built by human hands, and one of the most important machines of the 1960s. Welcome to the world of the Ford Shelby GT500, a world where every curve, every sound, and every detail tells a story that enthusiasts still talk about today. The story begins in USA, where Ford had a dream that everyone around them called impossible. They proved every single one of those doubters completely wrong. The engineers who designed the Ford Shelby GT500 were obsessed with a single goal: absolute perfection. They worked tirelessly, rethinking every component until nothing remained that was merely adequate. The Ford Shelby GT500 was not designed by committee or by compromise. It was designed by passionate people who loved driving above everything else, and that passion shows in every line. Under the skin, the Ford Shelby GT500 was nothing short of revolutionary. The 7.0 LV8 engine challenged every assumption about what was technically possible in a road car of that era. When the Ford Shelby GT500 made its debut at the Motor Show, the crowd fell completely silent. Then, after a long moment of stunned disbelief, they erupted into applause. The first production Ford Shelby GT500s rolled carefully off the line in 1967, each one assembled entirely by hand. Every car was a unique object, never quite identical to the last. Journalists who drove the Ford Shelby GT500 for the very first time all wrote back with the same report: "This car is alive. It responds, it communicates, it rewards every input." The Ford factory worked around the clock, every shift, 7 days a week. The entire world was waiting impatiently for the Ford Shelby GT500 to arrive in their country. Every curve of the Ford Shelby GT500 was calculated with mathematical precision, never guessed or approximated. The result was something that can only be described as pure automotive poetry. On the open road, the Ford Shelby GT500 was completely untouchable. Nothing else at this price point could keep up through a corner, and very little could match it on a straight. The Ford Shelby GT500 attracted the world's most discerning and experienced drivers to its showrooms. They walked in knowing exactly what they were looking at, and they bought without hesitation. Racing drivers who tested the Ford Shelby GT500 on closed roads came back with the same verdict: "This is a weapon disguised as a civilized road car. Handle it with total respect." The Ford Shelby GT500 competed directly against the Chevrolet Camaro SS at every level. That rivalry pushed both manufacturers further than either would have gone alone, and an entire era was defined by it. Hollywood discovered the Ford Shelby GT500, and the world followed immediately. Film stars and directors lined up to own one, and the waiting list stretched for years without moving. Motoring journalists from every major publication called the Ford Shelby GT500 an absolute benchmark for its class. Car and driver stated plainly that it set the standard everyone else must now meet. The Ford Shelby GT500 appeared in major films, on television, in fashion magazines, and advertising campaigns. It transcended the automotive world entirely and became a permanent symbol of its cultural era. At Sebring, The Ford Shelby GT500 proved its engineering credentials in serious competition against the best the world could offer. The results were nothing short of extraordinary. The most powerful Mustang of the 1960s. That single moment defined the Ford Shelby GT500's legend so completely that decades later, people still speak of it as the greatest achievement in the car's long history. Buyers waited months, and sometimes waited years, for their car to be completed. The Ford factory worked at full capacity, but simply could not build Ford Shelby GT500s fast enough to satisfy demand. In Guardsman Blue or in Wimbledon White, the Ford Shelby GT500 was nothing less than magnificent. Every color in the palette suited this body perfectly, as if the designers had planned each one separately. The vinyl interior wrapped around the driver with quiet confidence. The analog instruments told you everything you needed to know, and the driving position was immediately, perfectly correct. Under the hood sat a 7.0 L V8 producing 355 horsepower. In 1967, that number was not merely impressive, it was extraordinary, and it placed the Ford Shelby GT500 in a category of its own. The engineers at Ford chose every single component with extraordinary care and deliberate intent. Nothing in the Ford Shelby GT500 was there by accident or by compromise. Everything had a precise purpose. The Ford Shelby GT500 weighed just 1,429 kilograms, kept light by careful engineering at every stage of development. Light, agile, and alive in a way that heavier cars simply cannot replicate, no matter how powerful. Top speed, 130 miles per hour. In 1967, only a small handful of cars anywhere on Earth could match that figure, and most of those cost considerably more to build and to buy. The steel body was shaped and hand-formed by craftsmen who had spent entire careers, sometimes entire decades, learning the precise art of coach building at the highest possible level. When production finally ended, the automotive world mourned the loss deeply and genuinely. Everyone who cared about cars understood that there would never be another Ford Shelby GT500 quite like this one. The Ford Shelby GT500 quickly became the car that every serious collector in the world wanted above almost anything else. Prices began climbing the very day the last example was completed. As the years passed, collectors rediscovered the true importance of the Ford Shelby GT500 and what it represented. Values climbed steadily and then climbed steeply, and they have never stopped rising since. At auction today, a perfect Ford Shelby GT500 in original unrestored condition commands over $200,000. And with each passing year, with each sale that sets a new record, that figure continues to climb. The Ford Museum in Los Angeles dedicates significant space to displaying the complete Ford Shelby GT500 lineage in chronological order. Every model represented, every story told, every detail preserved with absolute care. At Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, a Ford Shelby GT500 on the show lawn stops time for every person who walks past it. Crowds gather quietly, and people stand in complete silence, just looking. The most serious collectors around the world insist on keeping their examples completely original. Matching numbers, original paint, undisturbed mechanicals, unrestored and entirely uncompromised by modern intervention. Only 2,048 Ford Shelby GT500s were ever produced in total. Every single surviving example today is a genuine and irreplaceable piece of automotive history that can never be recreated or replaced. Today, the Ford Shelby GT500 is universally recognized as one of the defining automotive achievements of the entire 1960s. It shaped what came after it and raised the standard permanently. Somewhere in the world right now, a Ford Shelby GT500 is being driven on a real road by someone who loves it. Not displayed behind glass, not stored away, driven exactly as intended. The Ford Shelby GT500, born in 1967 in USA, still the benchmark against which others are measured. Still the dream that enthusiasts around the world carry with them. Still completely, perfectly alive. No two Ford Shelby GT500s were ever exactly alike. Each one left the factory with its own character, its own personality, its own story waiting to be written on the roads of the world. To drive a Ford Shelby GT500 is to feel a direct connection to the hands that built it, the craftsmen who shaped each panel, fitted each component, and signed their work with quiet pride. The sound of a Ford Shelby GT500's engine is unlike anything else ever produced. Owners describe it as music, a mechanical symphony that no recording has ever fully captured or done justice to. Decades after the last Ford Shelby GT500 rolled off the line, engineers still study it. The solutions Ford found then remain relevant today, proof that genuine genius does not have an expiration date. The legacy of the Ford Shelby GT500 is not measured in numbers or records or prices. It is measured in the hearts of everyone who ever saw one, drove one, or simply dreamed of one.